Hi, welcome to Anne Bonny Bags. In this tutorial we are making Rachel backpack. As you see, I made 3 different versions here. This one is patchwork. I've sewed together square pieces. This is a wonderful way to use your scraps. And then I have made in 2 different fabrics like that. In this version I've used an outdoor fabric. The whole knapsack is strengthened with rubber foam on the inside so that it can stand by itself. As you see, it has side pockets with a little fold here, so it can easily fit water bottles in there. And if you like to use bigger bottles, then you just make this pocket wider and this fold deeper. In the front here we have a front pocket with a gusset, a zipper, so side pockets, front pocket, and a zipper up top that has 2 zipper pulls, so you can open the bags this wide. Inside is another fabric, and as you see, all the seams here have binding, so the bag looks really pretty on the inside. At the back we have shoulder straps with bindings on the side, and they are padded with rubber foam as well. So this backpack is incredibly pleasant to wear because you don't feel the straps at all. They're so wide and they're padded. And here is the lower shoulder strap. It's adjustable. I have used these buckles that you can release, but that's totally not necessary. You can just use any kind of strap adjuster. At the bottom here, where you need extra strength, here is the strap connector. As you see, it's fastened in this bottom side seam here. On these lower straps, you can use webbing inside them if you want to make them extra strong. I have used webbing inside of this. That's extra strong. So you can lift this backpack with that. Let's get started. First thing you do is you print out the pattern piece with the test square that is 2 by 2 inches and check if that is really the size that your printer is printing. You cut out the pattern pieces and you glue them together. So B goes to B, C goes to C, A goes to A, like that. It says a fabric fold there. You can either put it against the fabric fold when you cut it, or like me, make a pattern for it. I just use plain paper, tape it to it, and then I have 1 pattern piece. This is the main part. I do the same there, tape the pieces together, make 1 whole piece because I find it easier. Then I cut the pieces out with the fabric I need, plus the rubber foam. Rubber foam goes on most of the pieces. The rubber foam is cut without seam allowance. The only thing with seam allowance on the rubber foam are the shoulder straps. Yeah, this backpack is made with bindings. Cut these on the diagonal of the fabric because then it's a little stretchy and will fit much better around the curves. When you have to splice them, you do that diagonal as well. So I put the pieces together as they're supposed to be. And then I'll sew around it to fasten the rubber foam because we don't want that to move around. So I do that on all the pieces. Now I'm adding the binding to the shoulder strap. Then I'm folding the binding over to the right side of the shoulder strap. It is smart to use an awl like I'm doing here, because then at least you won't sew your finger. And then top stitch on the binding. Then I'm sewing around the gusset the same way. The gusset does not have a seam allowance in the rubber foam. This is the top gusset where the zipper goes, and I'm adding binding to that. So I'm sewing the right side of the binding against the wrong side of the gusset. And then the zipper is going to go there. And then top stitch on the binding. Do the same on the other side. Then you add the zipper. I'm making sure the zipper teeth are free, so the fabric doesn't cover that and get entangled when you use the zipper. Now this is the rest of the gusset at the bottom and the side. On these gussets there will also be the two side pockets. I'm just closing it in to keep the rubber foam in place. Now I'm sewing this one to the top gusset and putting binding on that one seam there. And then top stitch on the binding. So now I'm on to the front pocket. And this is the zipper opening of the front pocket. So I'm using a binding of the main material. And I'm doing this on both the upper part and the lower part of the pocket. Just the same as we did on the top gusset. Sew the zipper in place. And then we have to add the zipper pulls. And now this is the side gusset for the front pocket. One side of it is a seam. Then we don't get the raw edge inside the pocket. See, I'm sewing together the main fabric and the lining of the side gusset for the pocket. And then I'm adding it on so that my seam there that I've pressed is out. So now I'm taking the raw edge and adding that to the pocket. Snip a little in the corners so I can turn right there when I sew. Don't snip too far, only snip the seam allowance. Now I can see how long that has to be, so I sew that first, those two pieces together. And in order to make that pretty, I put a binding on there as well, in case someone looks inside the pocket. We want it to look pretty. And now we top stitch the binding. And then I'm sewing the side gusset for the pocket onto the pocket part. As you see, I have already put my brand there and Bonnie bags. And now I want to put binding on this inside seam of the pocket. To make it pretty inside. Here I'm trying to tack down the corners so they won't be in my way. Folding the binding in and sewing around that. I was sewing around the main part of the backpack. And now I can put the pocket on. But it's important now to make it so that we don't see the side gusset. That's kind of disappearing behind the pocket. The side gusset of the pocket is supposed to be hidden behind the front of the pocket, not sticking out on the sides. So you finagle a little and make it right. You sew it on. Now we're on to the side pocket. We need to sew the top and the bottom of them. We don't have to bother about the side because they come in the seam where the side gusset is for the backpack. This is only the top and the bottom. And I have made the lining a little shorter, so I'm sure that the lining doesn't stick up. Here I'm making the little folds in the bottom of the pocket to make the pocket a little wider so it can fit a water bottle. Now I need to put the pockets on the side gusset. And now I sew it in place on the sides and the bottom. Now I'm putting the bottom and the side gusset onto the front part of the backpack. I have marked up the center of the bag at the top and bottom, and also the center of my side gusset. And then I sew those two together when I see how much I need. And then I put binding on that part too, like we did on the other side. And now we're top stitching the binding. And then sew that last little piece. Now we're on to the lower part of the shoulder straps. I'm using a webbing just to make it a little stronger. And then I'm folding the ends on one side. You sew across one of the ends as well. And here are those little strap connectors. You're only going to sew on the one end that fasten them. And then the other sides are going to be in the side seam of the knapsack. So here's the back of the backpack. So you put the straps like that. And you can baste them in place. I'm doing that at a later stage. Here we have the handle. I'm doing the same there, putting webbing in to make it stronger. The handle, I'm sewing several seams, as you'll see, 4 seams across. It's going to go like that. So I'm putting the shoulder straps in place. I noticed they were a little far down, so I'm pushing them up a little more while I sew. Here I'm basting the bottom strap connectors in place. So I'm adding binding. Then you fold the binding in like we have done previously. And then I'm top stitching on the binding. Clip the back of the backpack onto the side gusset and sew around. Sew the two pieces together, the side gusset and the back. I like to live dangerously and forget to use the awl. I'm cutting the edge a little more even. Make sure nothing is sticking out too much. Then I'm adding the binding to the back as well. I'm folding the bottom binding part and then laying the other one on top of it. I'm sewing the binding on. Now I'm folding the binding over. Now I'm top stitching the binding. These are the strap connectors that goes on the larger shoulder straps that is holding the little plastic buckle. I wanted to use these little plastic buckles because I already had them. Make sure they're equally big, fasten them well. And this is the last thing we're sewing on this backpack. These are little buckle connectors. Now we're fastening them to the lower part of the shoulder strap. There's no sewing on the other part of this buckle. And now we're fastening these well. Make sure they're straight. That's it. Our backpack is finished. So you can buy this pattern on my website annbonnybags.com, and there you'll find a lot of other patterns. I also have my patterns for sale on etsy.com. Just search for Ann Bonny Bags. One more thing before you go. Did you know that I'm also an author? So I'm writing action adventure books. First book is Trapped. You can get that for free on my website uniroberts.com. Roberts is my husband's name, is my author name. And here is the second book, Framed. And here is the last book, Shark Bait, or the third book. There will be more in this series. These books are not for the faint of heart. They contain vigilante justice, because this girl has to protect herself. Otherwise, you'll find these books on Amazon as well under my name, Uni Roberts. See you on one of my websites, the bag website where you can buy the pattern, or on my author website. All right, good luck making your own bag.